Hey everybody. So I am on page 12 of your packets. This is the very last, very short section in your solids packet. We're going to talk about spheres real quick. So a sphere, I'm sure most of you are familiar with, is just a ball. So it is, by definition, a sphere is all of the points in space that are the same distance from the center. So a circle is all of the points on a piece of paper, essentially. So a circle is two-dimensional. A sphere is three-dimensional. So a sphere is all of the points that are the same distance from the center in space. So if you look at this picture, this point here is the center of the sphere. And from the center of the sphere to the outside of the sphere is the radius. And the radius is going to be what we need for our surface area and volume formulas. So looking at the surface area formula, very simple formula, 4 times pi r squared. So if you think about a sphere, if you were to cut a sphere exactly in half, so you had 2 halves, when you cut it in half, that cross section would be a circle, and the area of that circle would be pi r squared. So what's kind of interesting is that the surface area, so the whole entire surface of a sphere is 4 times that area. Essentially, that's what this formula is doing. So in our first example here, find the surface area of a sphere with a radius of 14 feet. This is probably the easiest surface area formula that we have. So the surface area is just 4 times pi times radius squared. And you can put all of that in your calculator. Because there is pi, you are using the pi button when you type it in. So for spheres, just like for cylinders and cones, we're going to be rounding our answers off for the most part. And so this one ends up being about 2,463 feet squared because we're talking about surface area. All right, so volume of a sphere. So again, volume is the space inside of the sphere. So surface area, how much material does it make, or does it take to make the baseball? Volume, how much space is inside the baseball. So our volume formula is 4/3 pi r cubed. Make sure that you're cubing the radius when you're doing volume, not squaring it. So looking at our example for volume, the volume of a sphere with a diameter of 6 meters. So if the diameter is 6 meters, same thing with circles, that means that our radius would be 3 meters. So our volume is 4/3 pi r cubed. So 4/3 times pi times 3 cubed is 27. And that gives us about 113.1 meters. Volume is always cubed. So that would be how you find the volume of that sphere. So again, 2 very short, simple formulas. Before you do the 11.5 practice, I do want to go ahead and do number 6 with you. Just because it's a lot of steps, and I think it's important for you to see, but we're just going to walk through this one together real quick. So the volume of a sphere is given to us, and we're trying to find the diameter. So I'm going to set up here volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So we're given the volume. The volume is 47,916 pi, and that equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So obviously the only thing that we can solve for here is the radius. So we'll need to solve for that first, and then we can figure out what the diameter is. So the first thing here, and this has been happening in a lot of these problems where you've had to find a missing height or radius or something, the pi on both sides is actually going to cancel out. So we can get rid of that. And we have then 47,916 equals 4/3 times the radius cubed. To get rid of the 4/3, you can either divide by 4/3, or what I'm going to do is multiply both sides by 3/4. 4/3 times 3/4 is just 1, so that cancels out for us. And we end up with r cubed equals 35,937. So part of the reason that I wanted to do this one together, we haven't done any problems like this where you have a variable that's cubed. So the way that you solve that is to do the cube root of 35,937. If you just have a regular 4-function calculator, I don't believe that those have a cube root button, but your graphing calculators actually do. If you hit second and then math, sorry, that's not right. Just hit math. You don't have to hit second. And if you scroll down there to number 4, you'll see the cube root option. And so scrolling down to number 4, and that'll bring up, there we go, the cube root on your screen. So the cube root of 35,937 is 33. So the radius is 33. Multiply that by 2 to get the diameter would be 66 meters. So that was a pretty involved problem, which is why I wanted to walk through it together. The rest of the 11.5 practice you should be able to do with no problem. So that's what you should work on now. And then just like last week, you'll have a very short little assessment covering everything that we did this week. So I hope that you guys are doing well. See you soon.